freshness. Great chance here. That does it. Steve McGavin. And for the first time, Colchester United have won a major final.
Still Garcia, finally the company arrives and it's in! It's a freak-out goal from Ricardo Carvalho. Richard Garcia wants the credit and the shock is on at the bridge.
And it's promotion for Colchester United. They've made it into the Championship for the first time in 69 years.
Porter, being held, there is Porter, and that's Walker!
Hello and welcome to the Beyond the Barside podcast, the podcast that looks at all things Colchester United. I am Aaron J, and on the show today we have a little look at what the landscape will look like in League Two this season. We reflect on our pre-season friendly at home to Peterborough United, which was a 2-2 draw, and I speak to a Trip to the Moon contributor, Rich, who is also a Tranmere fan, to talk about what he thinks will happen on the first game of the season. But without further ado, let's kick straight on as I was joined by Hughes fans Si, Dave and Jay to reflect on the Peterborough game and to have a little look at what we think will happen this season. Cheers. Welcome back to the Beyond the Barside podcast. I am joined by Si, Jay and Dave. We are post Peterborough United friendly, a very positive 2-2 draw. I think at large periods of the game we were the better side, which is very, very good considering where Peterborough are in the league, in the league pyramid, albeit I'm fairly sure they were depleted because they had 2 friendlies in 2 days. Is that right?
Grimsby and lost.
Okay, so potentially a depleted Peterborough side, but still, I thought we looked really, really good. Dave, do you want to go into it and kick us off?
I thought it was a good performance, and just calling back to 1 or 2 pods ago where we spoke about new signings and Ben Perry in particular, and I said, and I think we all agree, give him time. Let him find himself. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Mm-hmm. I think I texted both of you about 8 minutes in, so far ahead of myself on him. He was great. He was making challenges. He was getting stuck in. His distribution was good. So yeah, well, I'll have to probably rein myself back in. But yeah, he does. He seems to be the real deal. I think we're good.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He put himself about. His distribution was really good as well. I know Charles from the It's All Cobblers to Me podcast sort of mentioned that his passing at times let him down last season, but it looked really good from where I was sat.
Yeah, I think they were good performances all round, and I liked Goodwin and Williams up front.
Yeah,
worked well together. I think one thing it must be tempting. I don't think he'll do it, but it must be tempting to have Goodwin and Tavide start together. I mean, that would be horrible to play against. Yeah,
you're getting pinned, aren't you, as a centre half? Although I think the role that Williams was asked to play, he did really, really well. Si, you mentioned it, didn't you, with the sort of pivot role? Do you want to go into it a bit more?
Yeah, so I think we're obviously with the season coming up and stuff like that, everyone was basically Jack Payne's going to be our starting number 10. Everyone knows what he is, how good he is, blah, blah, blah. Then suddenly he's gone and got himself injured. So we've had to go to sort of like plan B, which really I don't think we've had. We've kind of stumbled on it with Goodwin playing the 9, then Williams just behind him is the 10. But both of them get into good chemistry and understanding together where they're able to, if one pushes, the other one drops. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like they're both playing 10, they're both playing 9, and they just know when to rotate through. Mm-hmm. And the first goal against Peterborough was a fine example of that, with Goodwin winning the ball off to Edwards. Edwards running his magic, the ball then coming back to Freddie Williams and then Bennett into the top corner. It was just a really well-made goal. So yeah, Payne's going to be a massive miss, but I don't think we're maybe as desperate for a new number 10 as we think, because that Williams-Goodwin thing will work well, and it's proven to work well. It just need a bit of time to iron out a few kinks, probably. And Yeah, and going back to what Dave said, Perry, it's like McDonald, but he can pass. It's I love Jane McDonald. I'd have him back in a heartbeat. But yeah, I don't know what the hell they're putting in the water up at Forest Academy, but Jesus Christ, they're doing something up there.
I think
I
we
would
need
put
to
it past him.
I think we need to have a discussion as a pod. In every episode so far, we have discussed Jamie McDonald at length. I think we need to, let him go, move on. He's not ours anymore.
I'm going to be the bitter ex that talks about him all the time.
Yeah. You keep calling him ugly or something throughout the different weeks.
Yeah, he was never all that, was he? He was too short.
He couldn't do
Yeah. That's why Ben Perry's much better. He can pass.
Yeah.
Don't cry because I will be happy because it happens.
That's it. Absolutely.
Jay, you were there as well. You were at the game. What did you think of it, mate?
I thought we were really good, and I know we've spoke a little bit, Aaron, just about kind of the performance, but I think we look like a proper team. And I know, obviously, you could probably see Peterborough in terms of their distribution and their touches and maybe their patterns of play was like probably, inevitably better than us. But I just think we looked very organised, bar the corner that they scored. I think we look really, really solid. And if that 4-4-2 is got to be kind of the go-to in Jack Payne's absence, much like Si said, I really like Goodwin and especially Williams up front. I hadn't really seen much of him in pre-season, but I thought he looked really, really composed, and he's a lot more of a presence than I thought he was going to be. And I know Goodwin is he looks like an absolute tank up front, but Jaden Williams is not far off, and just the way he was holding the ball up and knowing when to play intelligently and just pop the ball off, but then when to carry the ball a bit more. And when the ball broke for him for that goal, he just kind of, and you can see the Premier League coaching or the obviously he's been at Spurs for his entire youth career, but he just slowed down, got his body shape right, and just rifled it into the corner. And I was like, that is a hell of a finish, because it wasn't easy. I mean, you and I, Aaron, were West 7, West 8, and he didn't have much to aim for. And that sounds stupid, but he had to bend it right in that far corner. And the keeper knew what he was going to do as well, but he just whipped it in there. And I was like, that is a good finish. And I think he really deserved that goal. Another quick mention, Harry Anderson looked, I know he probably broke his foot when he did that tackle in about half an hour in, but I thought he was excellent out there, and he looks really fit considering he had that knee injury. And one bit I really loved about Anderson was that when it started to slow down a little bit, he was shouting. I don't know if you guys heard it.
Yeah.
Press Jaden.
Yeah.
He's like, "Whoa, go." And I was like, that's class. Because he was really, really taking a leadership role on there. Yeah. And he was tucking in. He was like, go. And it was just like, you know what? You want your players to do that. And I just thought he had a really good half, Anderson, and he was a really good outball. And he just looked like a really strong runner. And that's kind of the Anderson we expected.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Anderson. I thought he had a really, really good first half. And I heard him shout at Jaden as well, which, yeah, he seems to be adopting more of a leadership role. He looks like he's really worked hard this pre-season and probably throughout the summer as well. Looks really fit, a lot fitter than Jamie McDonald ever will. So yeah, absolutely agree with all points. I would like to mention as well, I think Kane Vincent-Young looked really assured when he came on too. I know it's a bit of a risk with Kane given the significant injuries that he's had, and I know that he is a very different player to the one that we had first time around. But I felt we looked a little bit vulnerable on the wings, particularly first half. And I know a lot of that's due to the sort of 1v1s that the fullbacks were left to deal with because we were pushing on quite high. Vincent-Young was given the same 1v1s and dealt with more or less everyone quite comfortably. So I think if there is a contract on the table, we should be giving it to Vincent-Young and he should be given the opportunity.
I think to be fair, if it was me and we do give him the contract and he's fit enough, I'd start him a right back, move Hunt back over to left back, So I think with Edwards' pace, he can cover Hunt a bit more with the tracking back a little bit, where Hunt won't be as exposed. And then obviously with Vincent Young, it's not as bad with him because he's got a pace, then obviously counteract. Sorry, so it'll be him and Edwards together with the pace. And then obviously the other side, you've got the strength to go with it, and it balances itself out a lot more.
Yeah.
Because obviously you'd have Edwards and Anderson, vice versa. Whereas before, I think because we're having pace and slow, it was like causing overload. So that could be an interesting move to budge across. I know Rob Hunt's getting a bit of stick, but to be fair, I think he's really come on in pre-season and stuff. And I think he's really, really much better player than the player that Swindon fans all thought we were getting.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. And I just to last little bit I'll say on the Peterborough game, I thought Flanagan and Tucker looked very strong together. And you could say, I mean, the game kicked off at 7:00. You could timestamp, the usual suspects criticising like 7:01. Oh, Flanagan and Hunter, they're not. They're 21 clean sheets last year. Let's get behind them. But no, I thought they looked really strong. Obviously we do need to strengthen there, but no, I thought it was a good run out.
Yeah, me too. And I think it bodes really, really positively for the first competitive game of the season coming this week at home at Tranmere Rovers. We're going to use this as a little bit of an opportunity to have a bit of a preview for our season, similar to the bonus episode for League Two. So we're going to start with the Colchester United Player of the Year. Dave, who are you going for?
I'm going for Teddy Bishop.
I think we all will.
I'm glad I went first on this one. I think a fit Teddy Bishop is the difference between, assuming we sign maybe another couple of defensive players. I think a fit Teddy Bishop is the difference between potentially making the playoffs or not. And if we have a decent season regarding injuries, suspensions, etc., if he stays fit, it could also be a difference between us getting automatic promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, have you gone for Teddy Bishop too?
Verbatim of what Dave said again. I mean, my thoughts on Teddy Bishop. He's different class, and like even when he came back from his injury at the end of last season, he just stepped onto the pitch and he was just like, right, let's go. And the way that he just drops his shoulder and he touches the ball when he drives and over 5 yards. He's not a quick player, but he's really quick in his mind, isn't he? So I know Teddy Bishop has played for a few teams that we won't want to mention on the pod, but he's top draw, and I just love watching him. He just drives at that ball in midfield, and he's just such a clever player and dictates the tempo. And Dave's spot on.
Yeah, Teddy Bishop, or have you gone elsewhere?
Well, I thought maybe we could just give Brad Jeffries a squad number and just give him postseason for what he did with the pitch. But so I've got three randomly. Teddy Bishop is one of them. And the other two I've gone for is either Ellis and Dolo. But here's the caveat of how he comes back from his injury, because this is obviously quite, although they're playing it down a little bit. Jay will probably know a hell of a lot more than I do about knees and stuff. But I feel that it could be a bit more serious than they're making out. And it will be interesting how he sort of recovers both physically and psychologically with it, and whether he will come back with a full commitment, or if that's going to hold him back. And then my other possible one for it is Aurora Edwards. He had a good season last year. He's come back this summer stronger. He's not getting bullied off the ball. That was one of his faults last year. Try and take a player on, the ball will go past him, and then you get floored by the player, just pure lack of strength. He seems to have improved that, and if we keep him, because he's still getting linked to remove away, he could well then really push on and provide even more than he did last year to be a contender for it. But those two aside, you can't look past Teddy Bishop. I know a lot of people talk about Jack Payne, but I think with his injury and the potential to have the pivot with Williams and Goodwin, it'll be interesting to see just how much game time he does get and where he fits in once he is back fit. Again, he's another one that we've not seen at all pre-season. He's going to take a bit of time to get up to speed, so how much is he going to feature, we don't know. So other than those other two, Teddy Bishop, for all the reasons that you guys have mentioned, you can't look past him, can you?
No, I have gone for Teddy Bishop. I don't think I can add anything to that conversation, so I'm not. But Teddy Bishop's my Player of the Year, 100%. Top goal scorer. It's always been a bit of a Cole, you have always sort of looked for that elusive 20-plus goal a season striker. I don't think we've had one for quite a while. The tens seem to chip in with a lot of goals. Do you reckon it's Curitin was the last one?
I don't know.
I think Lisby. I think Lisby might have been.
Yeah, I don't think Freddie got more than sort of 15 odds. Yeah,
I think Lisby, the year we went down, was our top. I think he got 20 odd. 21, I think he got. It might have been just shy of 20. But I think Kevin Lisby. My top goal scorer, very obvious. I've gone for Will Goodwin. I think he's going to be our talisman up top. Dave, what do you think? Who's your top scorer?
He was my first choice, but then I was going to go just for penalties and set pieces. I was going to put Jack Payne in there, obviously.
Yeah.
Caveat that he's back in the first few weeks of the season. But yeah, I've been really impressed with Goodwin. I like him.
Yeah. Jay, who have you gone for? Top goal scorer?
Yeah, Goodwin too. I think he's going to be our number 9, isn't he? Especially if we play one up top. I think he's going to start the majority of the games, and I hope he really stays fit, because I think he's got everything to have a good season at this level. Hopefully 15, 16, 17 league goals, and I think that would be a good return. But I'm hoping Jaden Williams will. I don't know why I was just I know it's only one game on Friday, but he just looked really. I wasn't expecting that from him, and he looked the real deal. And I'm quite excited to see how much he plays and see how he goes. I don't think he'll get the game time that Goodwin will get, so he won't be in the conversation for top goal scorer. But yeah, it'd be interesting.
No, I can see him making an impact sort of towards the end of games and filling in on 2-game week sort of games. Si, who have you gone for the top scorer?
Yeah, completely the set. Will Goodwin's when, like everyone's mentioned, you can't look past him. But to me, I'm like, I know we are desperate for a prolific 20-goal season striker, but if we're scoring plenty of goals, maybe having a striker that's not getting big numbers isn't actually a bad thing, because they're getting spread around the team. Therefore, if a player is taken out for injury, we're not losing the one outlet we've got, a bit like Warsaw did where they lost Lowe back to his parent club. So I think Will Goodwin will get the most goals, but I don't think he necessarily get carried away if it's a lower number than we'd like, as long as everyone else is chipping in and producing the goods and we're sharing them about.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we've always done quite well without that talisman up top so far, and I think the goals will come from various sources as the season goes on. Breakthrough player, obviously last year we had this lone player breakthrough out of nowhere and steal the hearts of all U's fans, and then subsequently break them by signing for Mansfield on a season-long loan in Jamie McDonnell. This year, there's a few players that could be our breakthrough player. Dave, who are you going for?
I think Perry's an obvious one. I think
much better than McDonnell.
Oh yeah, who? But for the midfield, I was going to mention Max Jolliffe. So obviously he's looking good, but Harvey.
Ronnie Harvey,
he's come out of nowhere pre-season.
Looked good again Friday, didn't he? Puts himself about for a kid.
Well, he does, and that's what I was coming on to, Aaron. It's like when a young player comes into the team, it's not always about sort of what they do on the ball, but it's how they sort of how they conduct themselves on the pitch. They look like they belong, and I think him and Jolliffe really look like they belong there. So that's how they look. I think I'm going to go as my pick, and I think it may happen just out of necessity, depending on what happens between now and the end of the transfer window. But Kuffour, at the back. So I mean, if anything, injury, suspension happens to Flanagan, we've got no one else at the moment to go.
Sign his dad if we need to.
Why not? And yeah, but he's strong and quick, and when you're maybe not as streetwise experienced, sort of going into first team football, those attributes can cover a multitude of sins. So
yes, they certainly
I think,
can.
yeah, I got a feeling he might come through this year.
I like it. Jay, who have you gone for?
I'm going to go for, and this might not be allowed, so you can shout at me if so, but I'm going to go for Oscar Thorne. But and I can back up this reasoning. So I feel like Oscar really grew into a proper League Two player last season, and I think this season, and I know he's a young lad and he's growing, but I really feel like he looks like a proper athlete, and I know that Danny speaks very highly of kind of like his stature and his ability and his physical stats and attributes. But I think towards the back end of last season, I just thought, you know what, Thorne is doing a lot of simple things really well, in the sense of like going at his man, driving in the right areas, putting in really intelligent and maybe not pinpoint crosses, but crosses just into dangerous areas. And there was a goal. I can't remember who was against it. It was a long ball, and he challenged the fullback.
Notts County.
Crossed it for toe. That's it, yeah. And we won 1-0. And I think they battered us in the first half, didn't they? All in most of the first half, and we went in 1-0 up. And I just thought Oscar Thorne is really starting to understand like how he can be effective. Like he's really, really strong runner. He's got good pace. He's got an eye for putting the ball into a good area, and then it's up to the strikers to be there. So, and I think Oscar Thorne, whilst he broke out last year, I think he's going to be putting Anderson under a lot of pressure, and I think it's going to be a toss-up between them two as to who's going to have a starting berth, really. And I reckon Oscar Thorne could be the next one who could make that jump. Unfortunately, we might be speaking about next summer. He might be the one that's going to be our £500,000 player because he's got physical attributes. He's starting to understand what he's good at and how he can affect games. And I think he's going to have a big season for us.
Yeah, there's an air of the Greg Halfords about him, isn't there? Where he's a big young lad that's only going to get better as he progresses through the game. Si, who are you going for as your breakthrough player?
So I've gone for Ronnie Harvey. Pretty much like Dave alluded to. He rocked the first time we saw him with the first team was against Malden. And I think if you didn't know who he was, how young he was, and you looked at it from outside it, you just see another first teamer coming back for another pre-season with the lads, getting in amongst it, getting filled in a positive way, not just obviously beating the crap out, but actually filling where he needs to, do what he's got to do. And he looks like a seasoned player that's been there for a number of seasons. 17-year-old who's fresh out of the academy loop. So I think whether he'll get much game time, I don't know. It could well be like the last 10 minutes to sort of shore up a midfield, or say we would win the game nicely, take Bishop off to protect him or whatnot. But I do think Ronnie Harvey's going to be, this season will be, he'll start off on the very fringes, and then as the season progresses, he'll become more and more involved. And then this time next year, he'll be one of the players that we're very much we were going to rely on him in the middle of the park this season to then push us on a bit further. So yeah, Ronnie Harvey for me.
Yeah, I like it. I've gone for Jayden Williams for a lot of the reasons that you, Jay, stated earlier on in the podcast. I think he's really exciting. I think there's an element of rawness to him that will certainly be coached within our sort of system from the Cowleys. He'll be getting used to senior football coming from the 21s this season. So I do think that although he may not start as our sort of strongest player, I think towards the end of the season he'll be chipping in with goals and assists and indeed performances, and very highly spoken about from the Tottenham under 21 team and the under 18 side as well. He would have had some fantastic coaching at Spurs. He would have worked with some great players as well. So I think Jayden Williams is going to be our breakthrough talent. Moving on, league finish. I'm just gonna throw it at you straight away, Dave. Where are we going to finish?
Playoffs. If we avoid if we sign 2 more experienced League Two defenders, and avoid injuries to key midfielders, Teddy Bishop mainly. Yeah, playoffs.
Playoffs, Jay, what are you going for?
Yeah, 5th.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I went for 5th as well, just to go in there. Yeah, I think for all of the reasons that Dave said as well. Si, where do you think we'll finish?
4th. We are we'll miss out very, very close, whether it's be like 1 or 2 points and goal difference on 3rd.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be heartbreaking as well.
Yeah, that doesn't sound nice.
Yeah, I know. When I was thinking about it, I was like, I could just lie and be like, oh yeah, but I was like, no, I just got this horrible feeling.
Yeah,
It's crazy, isn't it? That we're saying 4th would be like disappointing when we were a couple of seasons ago. We're like, look, to be fair, I'll take 17th.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Call you pessimism coming through.
I like it. This has been a good prediction so far. We've got one last thing, and then we can all get on with our evenings, so to speak. Honourable mention. I've taken the honourable mention as a player that is just going to be really, really good this season. A sort of may come out of nowhere, but will generally put in a good shift. My honourable mention is Kane Vincent-Young, because I think if we sign him, he is going to be an important part of the back four. I think I can predict what Dave's going to say, but go for it, Dave. Honourable mention too.
Well, I'm going to say Harry Anderson. I don't think.
I thought you were going to say Brad Jeffries. Unbelievable.
Done that. But no, I think for the reasons you said earlier on, I think he sometimes gets some undeserved criticism because what he does for the team, both with the ball and without it, is really crucial to how the Cowleys want to play. And it's interesting, when he first joined, and he to be fair, when he started, he didn't look great. But Danny Cowley said, like, once he gets fit, you'll see the best of him. And he really does seem to be a player who needs to be at the top condition to be able to do what he does. So as long as he can stay fit, yeah, I think Harry Anderson's going to be a bit of an unsung player.
Nice one. Yeah, I completely agree. Jay, what are you going for, mate?
I am going to go for Tom Flanagan.
Yeah,
and
that's very controversial for a Colchester podcast.
And I'm very happy to explain why. So I think at the start of last season, obviously Flanagan was new to the team, wasn't he? And we maybe weren't as organised or gelled as a team, and we had a little bit of a slow start and some sticky patches before Christmas. But I think in terms of Flanagan in the back end of, the second half of the season, I know the Cowleys like to play a really team-orientated shape off the ball, and they really want to work hard as a team. But I mean, Flanagan marshalled that excellently, and he made sure the distances were right and people were getting into the right positions. And I just think that was a really, really good job from him in the end. He had a really strong start, a really difficult start, but I think the way to come back from that and just got on with his job, very quiet leadership as well, by the sounds of it, and did a fantastic job.
I disagreed with him being made captain at the start of the season, but I did think he really grew into it. The last, especially Christmas onwards, I thought he did do a good job.
Yeah,
you know what I really liked about that? Sorry, Aaron, was this
no, go for it, mate. Yeah,
I know he's a seasoned pro, but he just didn't let it affect him. And I mean, I'm sure he did to some degree because he's human, but the fact that he just kept going and he put that run together. And I know it was a team effort, but he was one of the leaders on the pitch. So I think credit where credit is due. And just watching him against, I didn't mention it at the start when we were talking about the Peterborough game, but he was superb. Like he just marshalled everything at the back, along with Tucker, superb. And his distribution on a really good surface, like shock horror, is really good. So I think he was obviously being asked to do things by Cowley last season that the pitch didn't allow for, and we just saw it on Friday night that give him the surface to play, and his short and long distribution was spot on, right on the money to Edwards every time we went with that long diag, hit into good areas. And I just think, like, I think people were just holding on to that Flanagan was poor at the start of the season when the performances on the whole were poor from everyone. But obviously goalkeepers and defenders get the stick, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Si, who's your honourable mention this year?
So with honourable mentions this time around, I've actually gone for things that are relevant. I've not just picked a random player from a different league like I managed to in our last league prediction ones. But I'm going to go for Rob Hunt for similar sort of reasons to what Jay said about Flanagan, is that he came in to a team that was underperforming in a position that he did not like at wing back and pretty much got the blame for everything. No, some of it was warranted, some of it was maybe us sort of just blaming the new guy sort of thing. But I think he's been taken out of the limelight. He's had the back end of last season, pre-season, to get himself sorted back his headspace and come back a lot better. And I think we play him in a more natural position of left back or right back, he'll actually surprise a lot of people this season. I know he's already getting pelters for the Peterborough game, but I don't think that was necessarily his fault. He was left exposed in 1v1s, and yeah, he got done a couple of times, but he also dealt with a couple very well. Also, throw into the sort of mix two other names. The first one being Jack Tucker. He's another player. When we had him on loan, a good friend of mine that I used to play football with was working at MK, and he was like, "Mate, you don't want him. He's useless. You know, he's got mistaken. He's got this." But actually, to be fair, he's come in, did well in defensive midfielder for that other guy when he was injured last season, and then this time he's been put back in defence. He's brought his more natural position centre back, and yeah, him and Flanagan are making a good partnership. And then Kyrie Thisbe, I think we're going to see some good things from him this season. We saw raw talent last year with his speed and what he could offer. I think now a good period of months under the Cowleys to get the best out of him, and we'll see him inputting himself into a lot more. His camo against Peterborough spot on. I think we can expect a lot more. 70 minutes, on he comes, and just, I'll not be funny, if you've had likes of Edwards running at you for 70 minutes as a defender, how good is he going off, and you see Kyrie is coming on, he's like, it's not this. I'm going home. I've had enough. And to be fair, on the Lisby front, do you think there's any more Lisby brothers hiding anywhere? So he seems to be finding them under stones or like getting out of cupboards at the moment, because obviously signed the younger one. So I wonder if there's any more in the pipeline to come through.
I think
we're going to sign.
Yeah, I think
we're going to sign one a season for the next 10 years, I reckon, at least.
Yeah.
I'll be happy with that.
He never
we'll get
never more than
loan from Peterborough.
I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, I never think you're more than 8 feet away from a Lisby child. But yeah, I think they're all great picks. That's been our little bit of a season preview. Huge thank you to Si, Jay, and Dave. Cheers for coming on, boys, and we'll see you Saturday.
See you later,
cheers,
mate.
guys.
Cheers, mate. All the best.
Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Huge thank you to Si, Dave, and Jay there for their contributions and predictions for what the League Two landscape will look like. We are nearly at the first game of the season as Colchester United take on Tranmere Rovers at home on the 2nd of August. I spoke to a Trip to the Moon contributor and Tranmere Rovers fan Jay to hear what his opinions are for the first game of the season. Cheers. Welcome back to the Beyond the Barside podcast. I am joined by Tranmere fan and a Trip to the Moon contributor, Rich. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, good. Thanks, you.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Appreciate you coming on. First league game is obviously imminent with Colchester United playing Tranmere on the first game of the season. A bit of a long trip for you guys for the first game. Slightly unfair of the EFL a little bit. How are you feeling going into the opening day?
It's a strange time amongst Tranmere fans because we're all feeling quite optimistic. I think there's quite a few parallels with Colchester. I know you've had a failed takeover. We're in the middle of a failed takeover. It's something that there's an awful lot that needs to be sorted out with the club. However, one of the shining lights of positivity has been the I suppose what we would expect to be the bare minimum, which was to maintain our league status last season. But under Andy Crosby, that was secured. Under Nigel Adkins, that looks rather optimistic. realistic. So I think realistically, we're all slightly excited. We're intrigued because we've had some sort of like some personnel changes in the squad. And we're raring to go. But yeah, I unfortunately can't make the game down at Colchester. I am working for the first. I work one Saturday and 4, so I'm missing that game. But I will have my my ear pinned to whatever I can to try and keep up to date.
I can imagine. So yeah, you mentioned Andy Crosby coming in. Obviously, it was a bit of a season of 2 parts, really, with Nigel Atkins starting the season. Things looked fairly precarious, to say the least. But Andy Crosby seemed to come in, steady the ship, and in the end, it was 20th, wasn't it? You guys finished?
Yeah, we had a last game of the season. We beat Newport, so that saved us the embarrassment of having to qualify for the League Cup because Accrington and Newport have gone into a playoff. So we leapfrogged Accrington and Newport last day of the season, so we got to 20th. Under Nigel, I suppose, and the best way of putting it, he was the chairman's friend. The chairman had long told us that he had supplied us with a Ferrari, and it looked more like a Ford Fiesta under Nigel's kind of leadership. And to be fair, when Crosby took control, it started to purr like a Ferrari. So I think if you look at the time that Crosby was in charge as a mini league table, I think it was 13 games, we would have been 5th in the league, and it felt that way. There was an inevitability about winning rather than with Nigel. It was an inevitability about we were going to get narrowly beaten, and we very much had the handbrake on performances.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was the reception like when Crosby was appointed from Tranmere fans?
It was quite moody, if I'm honest, because Andy Crosby came in as someone that Nigel knew very much to help Nigel. So when the chairman was under a lot of pressure to sack Nigel, as we were in terrible form, he brought Crosby in. And the time that he was there, we didn't necessarily see any improvement. And then Nigel, obviously, it was after Accrington, I think, went. We had quite a big game at home against Accrington where, if you can't beat the teams that are around the bottom with you, you're going to be in trouble. And we got beat 1-0 at home, I think, if my memory serves me correct. But we're in a position where, a lot of the Super White Army were questioning, oh great, this guy, he's one of Nigel's boys, what's going to change? But I think we pretty much seen that the dressing room was well and truly lost under Nigel. The talent was there to save us. And to be fair, a lot of us with a glass half empty would have looked and gone, well, what a wasted opportunity, because we did have the talent to be a lot higher up and maybe even have a playoff push if we'd not been so wasteful of chances and so negatively set up tactically, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously moving into the new season, pre-season's well underway. How's that looked so far for Tranmere?
Like being in a dark room blindfolded, because we've been behind closed doors up until yesterday at Wigan. So I got to go across yesterday and watch us play Wigan. We got beat 1-0, but there's once again so there was no intensity to the game, and both sides lacked a lot of creativity. I think it looked a lot like teams that didn't want to get knocks. For you guys, you may well be quite happy to watch Andy Crosby's post-match from Wigan, because he says that we've got a bug in the camp. So there was a few players that missed out because of a bug. Ethan Bristow came off after 20 minutes because he wasn't feeling well. We're probably the big miss for us, and the big question for Colchester is, have we got Luke McGee in goal, or have we got Joe Murphy? Luke McGee, he basically apparently hasn't really featured in anything other than very early on in pre-season. There's no kind of official word on where he is, and Crosby's very coded in what he says about who's fit and who's not, and who's played and who won't. So we're in the dark, and we'll look forward to 2:00 on Saturday to find out if our goalkeeper's fit, Otherwise, you're going to have a 43-year-old Joe Murphy in goal at the opposite end. And Joe, to be fair to him, he's from very good stock, and obviously he played for us when we were knocking League Cup finals and the turn of the century. But it was the turn of the century. We're now 25 years on. So to be fair to Joe, you don't want to think that he's going to be depended on for too long. He's been our goalkeeper coach for a couple of years, and year on year he just keeps extending that record of our eldest player to play for us.
Something to look out for, isn't it? Whether Luke McGee plays or was it 43? You say Joe Murphy?
Yeah, 43. You'll spot him because he'll be the one in goal with the Zimmer frame.
Lovely stuff. So, I mean, who are the players? I mean, you've mentioned Joe Murphy. Who are the players that Colchester fans should be wary of from a Tranmere's perspective?
Last season was pretty much saved in part by the goals of Amari Patrick. Amari Patrick's one of those players. He's very much a flair player. If you dip in and out of games and watch highlights, he can be. You start looking, going, why the hell is he playing at League Two? You only need to look at a couple of goals he scored at Accrington, and he's very much a handful. But then on the other hand, you can watch 70 minutes of Amari Patrick being probably Colchester's best player. Simple missing touches and misplaced passes. He's quite a frustrating player at times, but when he's on it and when he wants to have a go, brilliant. It's going to be interesting to see how we line up. Tranmere fans, we're not seeing anything behind closed doors, friendlies. I think we've played a Preston side behind closed doors and won 2-0. We played Blackburn under 21s, won 3-1, and we've had goals when we've played against teams like Southport, our local kind of smaller clubs in Bootle. When we've scored goals of abundance, Josh Davidson's been amongst them. Josh Davidson's someone who really didn't hit the heights that he should have, that the fanfare that Nigel Adkins, we paid money for him, which we very rarely pay money for anything. No jokes about Birkenhead, but we very rarely pay no money for, we don't pay money for any players easily. So the fact that we paid a bit of money for him, he's not really hit the heights this season, pre-season against lower opposition. He's banged in a few goals, so it'll be interesting to see if he can get on a score sheet or if in fact he does start with him. Just signed a young lad from Luton, and we've got a couple of other new additions into the squad. So it's really, for us, and it sounds really bad to come on and give you a preview, we'll be just as surprised as you.
So obviously it must be a bit of a strange one for Tranmere fans, because as you say, you've not seen many of the pre-season friendlies thus far. So I was going to ask what your hopes for the season are, but I would imagine that it's more or less guesswork from you guys at the moment.
Yeah, definitely is guesswork. We're ever the optimist wants to say that we can have a playoff push. As I said, the minimum is to keep status quo and retain League Two status. We all affectionately call the National League the bin league because we've been there. We know exactly how bad it is. And turning up at cricket pavilions in your thousands to watch your team, which when you're a kid you were knocking on the door of the Premier League. It hurts, and we've still got fresh memories of that. So we can't physically drop out of this league. We've got an awful lot of questions asking about takeovers like yourselves. We had an American consortium apparently agree a fee, I think it was October, to buy the club. It's still not happened. Doesn't sound like it's going to happen. And if I'm honest, there's differing kind of opinions on what people think if they want it to happen or not after what his other club, Spal in Italy, have gone through a bit of pain. So we're in a position where there's lots of questions that need answering. There's an NDA still in place over takeovers from the chairman. The chairman's been rather quiet. And as I've in the past, to be honest with you, I'm one of the more positive towards the chairman. But there's a lot of things that is up in the air at this moment in time. So Tranmere will, they call it the roller coaster. It delivers all sorts of absolute sort of like sublime and ridiculous. I think last season we conceded a goal at Doncaster by Jordan Turnbull having his shorts pulled off. I don't know if you saw that. They're literally having his pants pulled down in a game. So we see the absolute sublime and the ridiculous. It would be nothing more capable than Tranmere to do a Walsall, be sit top at Christmas with 55 points and somehow finish 14th. Or the reverse, go from 14th and sneak a playoff place and get promoted. I'm just hoping that we're well away from the bottom of that table, because last season it was too close for comfort. Carlisle missed several opportunities to get themselves out of trouble when we deserved to be in the bottom two. But saying that, maybe they deserved more too, after spending an awful lot of money and not getting as much points as us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Was the takeover involving ASAP Rocky? Is that still part of the same consortium?
Yeah, so it's a gentleman called Joe Tacopina, who's known for being Donald Trump's ex-lawyer.
Oh, nice.
But that's how he knows ASAP Rocky, because he defends ASAP Rocky when he was accused of firing shots at another rapper, but it wasn't. He didn't fire shots. It was a starter pistol. Apparently, that's what the judge ruled. So yes, he has that. Sachin Tendulkar, American football stars, all these sorts of people being floated around. ASAP Rocky and Rihanna's millions, coming into the club. Why? I don't know. How likely is it to happen? As every day goes on, less and less likely. There's been other people that they've talked about. A UK citizen who's based in America, sort of like from a tech conglomerate or something like that, want to put some money in. But we don't know. There's all sorts. It's under NDA, and we will be, as I said, just as surprised as everyone else when it comes out as a fan base.
Yeah, nice. It seems like a very confusing time to be a Tranmere fan at the moment. To add to the confusion, what do you think the score's going to be on the first game of the season against Colchester?
I would not be surprised if you run out 3-0 winners. Then on the other hand, I would not be surprised if we could nick a 2-1 win. So I'm going to be the positive optimist. I'm going to think that we can score 2 goals away from home, which doesn't happen too often. Our away form did improve under Crosby. I'm just hoping that some of our new signings hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. There's question marks over, a couple of positions. Have we reinforced and strengthened in the right way? I like to think on paper we have. For what we've lost to what we've replaced, it feels like we've got a lot of upgrades. But the proof's in the pudding. Likewise, with this behind closed doors, it's all great if we come out against you guys and look fit and ready to play. If they stall and don't put in a performance, there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of fans questioning, going, well, why the hell didn't we play better friendlies, in front of fans? Because let's be honest, training games are just exactly that. The training games. You all hear of footballers that are Pele when they train, and more like the dog and duck when they play. So it's seeing them in front of real life situations, fans, and the pressure even that League Two can give is different than playing behind closed doors.
Yeah, definitely. This has been brilliant, mate. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing your views. And obviously, the A Trip to the Moon podcast is available on all platforms. I listened to the Andy Crosby interview yesterday. It was a very, very good listen. He speaks very, very well, doesn't he, Crosby?
Yeah,
I would imagine he's very easy to like.
Yeah, very impressive. So Matt, who's the main contributor, and it's his podcast. Matt's very, very good with his questions, and Andy was pretty much an open book with everything. I think he's got Matt's got the A Trip to the Moon podcast on YouTube as well. So if ever you want to dive in throughout the season before, you can jump on his YouTube channel and see some of the contributions as well. So
nice one. Cheers, mate, and best of luck for the season.
Best of luck for the season, apart from Saturday.
Yeah, you too, mate. Thank you very much.
Right.
So there you have it. That is episode 4 of the Beyond the Barside podcast, and we are nearly at the beginning of the EFL League 2 season, as Colchester United will host Tranmere Rovers. thank you very much for listening. If you haven't already, feel free to give us a like or a comment on Apple, Spotify or YouTube. And I hope you've appreciated and enjoyed some of the additional content you've had this week. Obviously, Si, Dave and I appeared on BBC Essex to chat the U's and the podcast in general. And we also had a special Friday league prediction episode with myself, Si, Dave and Jay. If you want to get involved, feel free to email beyondthebarside@gmail.com and follow our socials at Barside Podcast. See you soon and up the U's. Cheers.